everyone. All right, I'm going to take a look at the championship game, and we're just going to see what happened here. What are some things we did good? What are some things we did poorly that we could improve on? Maybe point out some minor details of both teams and how they performed. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So first things first, we did not have good starting relocations. The Buns had way superior starting relocations towards Central, and that pretty much put us in an almost completely losing position from the start of the match. You can see the players that were supposed to go to the bottom side here just got canceled, their buildings destroyed. That definitely had to do with this relocation being too far and this one being too late. So we should have not sent our player to this spot and just had those two players go behind over here, and that would have saved us a lot of fighting power on that bottom side. Down here, we ended up with way too many players, and this is one thing that really needs to be paid attention to in the first 5 seconds of the match. If you're in the back row of these corner towers, you want to be holding your relocation. I know we have preset spots, right? But you shouldn't go straight away unless you have one of these priority positions around the tower that are contested or that could potentially be blocked. Obviously, we're picking these spots based on our spawns, just like anybody else would. And you can see we only have a couple of good ones. Like, we don't have any good spawns for the top tower. We elected not to go for it at all. You can see they sent, 6 players. Could have probably been less. But ideally, you want these corner spots to be contested with your best relocations, so they're obviously going to go straight away. And then the rest of them, maybe you send like 3 straight away, and then the rest of them are holding to see what the other team does. Since we don't go here, they don't want to be sending players here, and since they don't go here, because everybody knows this tower is easily takeable from the top side, we shouldn't be sending this many players. And so now we're going to be stuck with 6 players that could be at the central tower, and imagine the difference that would have made at the start of the match in fighting over this central position. Keep this at 4x speed for now. You can see these front positions are taking a lot of fire, as they always do. We're doing a pretty good job kind of trading evenly on the top side, but you can see the bottom side is starting to collapse. Actually, Blackhawk manages to survive for a lot longer than he probably should have, which was great. It managed to stall it for a little bit longer. We got people dead or who were blocked, still trying to get it back to, desperately trying to get back to central. Stuff like this, you don't want to have relocations next to each other. That's just gonna cause you to be blocked. Yeah, they're making some good progress towards the bottom side, moving up, which is definitely solid. Their structure's holding up well. Let's see, anybody really low here? Spas is quite low. He's an attack player, so probably gonna die here soon. But let's pause and see where we're at the 9-minute mark. Like, we're barely holding on to this position. We have this 9 square central spot that we're just trying to survive off of, so we can get people near. Obviously, we have to spread out to try and get not blocked, so that we can get back to this position and start to make progress on it. They still have an overwhelming numbers advantage. 5 players still in the top tower, and you can see we've managed to get, half of our players away from tower 4, but it's still an uphill battle for sure. One thing I do want to point out is that once we've got our relocations available, just no matter who's going to be staying at this tower, I know in our alliance sometimes we mark, certain people to stay, right? But that doesn't mean that you should not be relocating. Everyone should be relocating. Every single one of our players here should be relocating. And the last 3 to 4 who don't make it should be staying. That way we have just the highest chance of getting here, right? Like, imagine we have 10 people relocating here. They have to send 10 relocation blockers to stop us. And there's a lot less chance of that happening than if we only send 5. So if we send 5, maybe only 2 people get there. But if we send 10, then we're probably going to get like 3, 4, 5 people are going to get there. As long as they're not like right next to each other and, potentially blockable, double blockable, I guess. So that's definitely something to note. The starting wasn't the best from us based on, just waiting to see what the enemy does. And then our relocations from this tower could have been better. Skip back to like the 10-minute mark here. Yeah, it's around this time that we managed to, I guess, solidify our spot. It seems like, they tried to make some advances, right? But we just kept shutting down their push, and they couldn't continue moving up the tower. I don't know if they just weren't using enough defensive players to hold the position. I mean, like, how many they got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, they got 9, so it seems, kind of reasonable. But yeah, they're just not able to get up front. Maybe one of their defenders needed to get up front and bubble and protect their teammates, right? I don't think they did enough of that, because that is what's really going to allow you to like hold positions. And we can talk about that a little bit more later, but you can see they're trying to move up, and we're just not allowing it. I think this can be attributed also to the fact that we had, a preset in which, or a couple of presets in which 2 of our marches were able to deal damage to theirs and potentially win attacks, whereas they opted for a 1 march strategy that was aimed at defending against both of our marches. And to be fair, they did construct a march that was very solid against the lightning and fire teams that we were using, or not the lightning and fire, the lightning and wind teams that we were using. And we didn't really speak to the alliance much about using the 3rd preset, which had a fire main, to counter that. We just, for me, it seemed like the lightning and the wind combination was still working just fine, and then just hitting with the 3rd fire, and occasionally that would get some wins too, depending on what they defended with. So it just didn't feel like I needed to swap, and I'm sure some of our teammates felt the same way about it. And you can tell, like, we just have more firepower than them, it seems, because they're just not able to to do any damage to us very quickly. And I think, you know, if you only have one, if you have one really good march, then you can only attack or you can defend with that march. The other one, it just doesn't, it never wins, right? Unless you build out 2 solid marches that can win. And so you have to rally with those, and it makes your attacks slow, very slow. If you ever have to rally anymore, the rally meta in IBL has been gone for a while now, and so builds are very important for that. So you don't, you know, have to. It's better to just build a couple of presets, and hey, if your 2 solid marches don't work out, then just switch to another 2, rather than trying to build like the ultimate 1 march combination. It's just not fast enough anymore. But yeah, we managed to consolidate. We managed to get more players in. And it's around this time, right? Like you could tell that they tried to push up. It didn't work. It might have been better for them to just consolidate back here in their position based on how, I mean, in hindsight, obviously, and just survive so that they can get more of their players here. But they just couldn't do that. And I think it was because of the builds and maybe they just didn't defend each other enough. But at this point, we're starting to turn the tides. They did manage to take that tower because obviously they had that concave and an overwhelming numbers advantage. But right now, a call for the all-in, and we get it. They had it down to like maybe like 4 to 8 marches at around its lowest, and it was kind of hovering around that the entire last I don't know, what was it, the last like 10 seconds when we were capturing the tower. We had like 4 to 8 marches, barely holding on, but we did manage to get it, so that works out. And right as soon as you get the all-in, right, you get the tower, and you realize their numbers are dwindling, there's no need to move up. There's no need to move up anymore. And I think we make this mistake too frequently. Like, right now, we're losing the game, but if we hold this tower and our other 2 towers, we're going to win. We're going to win like after enough time passes, right? We're making 35, they're making 20. We're in a winning position now, even though they have a higher score. We just need to hold. So, how do we improve on this? It's the recognition. The recognition that we don't need to be moving up. We don't need to be canceling anymore. They can't bring enough players in to defend this position anymore. It's a lost position. There's too many of them in spawn. They're too far away. Their numbers are falling too quickly. We have, you know, full prosperity players. Or, I mean, not full, but like pretty healthy prosperity players here. They're not going to be able to stop us from taking this completely. And we don't, like, frankly, we don't need to completely shut this down or surround this. We need to be paying attention to holding our other towers, because that's where the mindset is going to shift to for the enemy team. Whenever they realize they can no longer take this or hold the position to potentially get it back, which it's obvious and overwhelming at this point. Like you could tell, 20 minutes in, this is over. We shouldn't be moving up anymore. It's a wasted reload. No need to block. No need to move up, right? If you're low at this point, anybody who's low prosperity, which I mean, there's not anybody that's crazy low here. So there is that. But let's say error here is like 5,000 prosperity or something, right? Or 10,000, even 10,000 prosperity. He should look to just get killed, like just die, like move up in their face, attack them a bunch of times as much as you can, get them as low as you can, whatever, and just let yourself die if you were at like 5 to 10k prosperity or something. That way you spawn in, you sync your spawn in with theirs. They're gonna die shortly too, because there's not that many of them. So they'll get ported or they'll leave, and if they get ported, they end up in spawn anyways. You end up in spawn at the same time, but we have less people in spawn because they're all gonna die and we're not. And we have good prosperity players, so we don't need to spawn back in. Like I'm full here. Jack Frost is full. So just die and don't waste your relocation moving up or blocking. Let them come. Here's another one. This doesn't need to happen. Right? Another one right here, completely pointless. And look, you can see the shift, the mindset shift. They're obviously going to go for a different tower. Which one's it going to be? Well, I've already started relocating back. We're sending a couple players back. But we don't have enough relocations available because we were relocating, into position or relocating forward here when we should be relocating down to this tower. And you can see the mistake we make is like getting too tunnel visioned on where the fight is. Like, the fight's going to come to you when you're holding the position that is that will be most contestable. If they lose another position on the map, if they lose central, they're going to go somewhere else because they need to. They need 3 towers. They've already got this one. Their home isn't like, we're not really going to contest the home because it's easier to defend. It's close to the spawn. So they have to go for this tower, right? And we make a massive blunder by finishing our relocations. Like, this needs to never happen. Once we realize the tower is guaranteed here, there's no reason to keep sending people. And as soon as our 2 players finish our relocations to mid, and that's where they went. They went mid. We immediately get teleported on. And so we have to spend our teleports counter-teleporting them. But imagine we have 2 extra players here and they teleport with 4. It's not possible. Like, it's just not possible. We get 4 players already here. They send 4. We teleport another 4. We counter them with the exact same amount. And now we have an 8 versus 4 advantage. It's just losing for them. Like, they have to really outplay our players close range with builds, with their builds. And they have to dominate a fight that is outnumbered point blank. And there's not a lot of people can do that in IBL anymore, because it's just too easy for you to lose a defense against a random march. Like, a lot of the marches these days are counterable. Like, if you're running a lightning team, that someone uses any reasonably built win team, they're gonna win. You use that win team, you defend with it. Any fire team at all that has, no escape is going to beat that pretty well. So, 8 versus 4, it's not going to be doable. Then they're going to have wasted their teleports here. We'll successfully defend it. And then the game is over because all these players will die. This will be successfully defended. They will have no more teleports. And they will be forced to go here and set up an offense on central or home or this tower again. But that's going to take a long time. And by that point, we'll already be, back in the driver's seat with way more points than them. You can see it's already almost even. So if this gets shut down, the game's just over straight away. But it doesn't get shut down because we don't have enough players, and they ended up, I think, teleporting more players than us, or we just weren't paying attention to the teleports. We didn't have enough available, and they overwhelm us. And because we're spending our relocations moving up mid when we don't need to, we aren't able to relocate to the tower that actually matters, and they're relocating extra players here. We should have extra players relocating all around this tower right now from central. Everybody who can should be relocating there. You don't need to move up from this position. This is a great position. You're still close to the tower. They're not going to be able to set up a capture anytime soon, and if they do, it'll take more than 3 minutes, so you'll have a relocation back to be able to move up next to the tower if it need be. So you should be spending your relocations to towers that are getting heavily contested, like the only tower they can take, to win the game. So we should have 8 to 10 people at least I get some people that can be on cooldown because they're blocking or whatever, you know, at like maybe this point, right? Maybe like the 18-minute, 19-minute mark, you've still been blocking, but your relocation should be coming up very close. Around the 21-minute mark, you should have your relocation again and looking to use it down here. So yeah, we don't do that. We barely have any relocations coming to this tower, and they completely get teleported on, shut down, blocked, whatever. And then around this point, you know, we realize that we need a new tower. We're gonna lose the game because, you know, we're dead even on points, or pretty close to it. We lose that tower. They hold all three. We lose, but that's where their mistake, their all, you know, biggest blunder of the game, which is overcommitting like we did to Central, even after we secured it, to defending this. And I mean, maybe it's just because the relocations come in late, so it looks like we're gonna make an attempt at it, right? But the relocations, like all of these relocations are like, you know, 5 minutes late or 4 minutes late. They should already be doing, you know, they should already have been on their way as we took this central tower, basically. And so you can see they're like, oh, scrambling. We need to get more people relocated here, right? They're spending all the relocations to get here to stop this, even though they've already won it. It's already won. Like, we don't have teleports. We have very few because we used most of them, and they all died already. And they have a complete position around the tower. There's no need for this guy to come here. There's no need for this guy to come here. They're absolutely 100% secure in this position. So what they should have done is spawned in and went here with like 5 people. And then the game is lost for us. We can't win the game at that point. And we've wasted a lot of relocations down here. So we're honestly, at this point, we're hoping they get canceled, because there's no way we're going to get there now, right? They spent a ton of teleports. They've sent some extra people from spawn to defend a tower that is, there's no way we can ever take it back in any reasonable amount of time. And the relocations keep coming. And this is the downfall for them. These players should not have showed up here. They should have simply just went here, and then they would have won the game. But they didn't, and we recognized that they overcommitted to the bottom side, and that our only play was to go for this right now. So as soon as I made the call that as soon as we had our relocations available, that we would just completely ditch this and go for the top tower. And that's what we go for. Yeah, when someone's relocating to the outskirts, right? Like, we're surrounding it so they can't block all of them. Getting a good concave on the tower, right? This is where the teleports should be used to defend that, right? And I do know that we have a couple teleports available because they come here soon. So it's just not recognizing that this, you know, these need to be teleported and blocked and defended, and add extra players to the attack quicker. Right? And so that would save us a bunch of time in actually attacking this tower. But you can see over the last like 5 minutes, and we've started to develop a concave of players, and there's a teleport in, right? Now, it was well timed because he had all of his marches out, and so he managed to get a bunch of free hits on him. But, you know, that teleport would have been nice, would have been nicely used on the first guy that they went to block to defend it. And then it would have been a 2 versus 1 against that player right next to each other. We had extra players there, right? So let's go back 2 minutes. 2 minutes time. We're starting to get players around here. They're trying to send relocations from across the map. You can see this desperately, but these ones will never get there, right? These will never get there. They'll get blocked. We'll move up, and we'll destroy the buildings by the time they get there. Only few will get here, you know, because we can just block them. Our players have been here for a little bit. We can move up. We can block the reloads. We can move up next to it like we do, and you know, This, you can see this relocation's never going to get there now. He's right next to it. Unless they kill him really fast, that's going to get destroyed, probably. So, 29 minutes. All their players are now out of spawn after we killed them all off central, right? And look at where all the relocations are going to. The contested tower after the fact, right? And once you realize that they've managed to take this tower and that we're not going to be able to support our push, that's when they need to give it a rest here. Just stop sending players. They need to go they need to defend this tower. You know, I get sending 1 or 2 extras to be safe, right? Because, you know, maybe we have a couple more teleports or whatever. But look, there's 3 of us. There's 7 of them. They got a couple extra players showing up. That's good enough. Everybody else, straight to this tower, right? And then the game is over for us. Like, what are we going to do? Go take home? As long as they have like 4 to 5 people at home tower, it's going to take us a long time to take that, and we probably won't be able to hold it. So it basically, it's always very difficult to do, you know, to hold this the entire match. Like, it's very, very hard because you kill somebody, they spawn in, they come right back. They're right there. You can't block them. But we can block them if they're, you know, if we hold this tower and they're trying to come from their spawn. We can block them very easily. So yeah, go to like the 31-minute mark. We're getting close on the tower. We're starting to collapse on them. And the relocations are coming from across the map right here, right? But it's a little too, it's too little too late. We're killing off their players. They're starting to spawn in. And they're coming back up here. But like, where do you go? You know, where do you go from this tower? Let's say you got 15 players here, right? Are they all just going to relocate across the map? It's so difficult to do that. It almost forces you to go to Moon Altar. Capture Moon Altar with like 5, 6, 7 players. And then go here. Like, at that point. Because just relocating straight across the map, this is like 3 minutes. It's just not very likely they're going to get there. And we spend a couple of teleports to block and just hold position so they can't just keep reinforcing. Right? That gets blocked. It's a move up and it's a block, so that you like to see that. Of course, it's going to get canceled, but it serves a dual purpose, right? You're blocking the relocation across the map, and if they do let it land, then you get, you know, a closer attack on the tower, and then you can start to defend your teammates' move-ups. And that's when one person gets in here, and now all of our players are moving up around this position, and it's starting to fall apart for them. And again, so now it's the same situation, right? They don't have teleports available because they use them here, and we use them as well. So we know our teleport's not going to be up for another like 10, 15 minutes or whatever. And we know theirs aren't either. And this is a completely winning position now. We shouldn't move up anymore. We should just give this up. Or I mean, like, let the players, what I mean to say is let the players kill off who's left. Maybe like 1 player moves up next to the tower if they need to, just to kill the last couple of guys. And everybody else, back to central, back to home tower. Right? 33 minutes in. We do that. If we can get completely, you know, evenly split between the 3 towers, first team to do that basically wins the game, because it's so hard to make a solid push on a tower where you have no presence at. And so that's what we start to do. Just, you know, forget about that tower. We have it. Go back to mid, which is where we go. Go back to home tower. Players spawning in. Go to mid or home tower. And that's how we secure the game. You know, we got 5 at home. That's good enough. You know, even in a 5v5 teleport, you know, we can send people from home, from central, and they'll never get enough people to support it because there's nobody on the altar for them. And you need altar players to be able to support your teleport players so that you can get supports and defense players in here to make the position like more sturdy for when you go. So that way you're not just teleporting in and then the other team just teleports in and then you get there. They have a numbers advantage on you. So yeah. You know, but basically the only thing they have left is this bastion down here. It's going to take them a long time to get more players. The score is even, right? And the longer they take, the further the lead, the more impossible it is. There's only 20 minutes left. They need to take something in the next like 5 minutes or something to even have a shot at it. 5 to 10 minutes. So we start to surround the tower. We keep them here, and then everybody else, you know, who dies low HP can come back. They can go here. They can, you know, we got 6 now. They go mid. Like, there's no way they could take mid. There's too many players. There's not enough time. There's no setup. 6 is more than enough here. That's great. So it's just a matter of moving up next to the tower and just continuing to block their move ups and their pressure, which we do. And managed to barely secure the game. But all of that could have been avoided. I mean, I think they have a couple more teleports left, but it's not nearly enough to break that. There's too many of us here. And yeah, I think at this point they realized the game was over, and then, you know, we're just playing for fun down at this tower. But yeah, really, the game was just sloppy. Once we've lost, we start to lose mid. Like, we should, based on the start, we should have lost the game because they had just a much better initial starting relocation presence. I think the build saved us. Our teamwork to try and get back into some of the positions and fight it out saved us. We if we didn't outplay them in the build and the fighting department this game, we would have surely lost because they had a way better start. And we were playing on the back foot for a long time to try and bring the game back. So, you know, that's the takeaway from the game. Think ahead when you're playing IB. You have to micro your attacks and your defenses of your teammates and yourself heavily, but you also have to have in the back of your mind, where do I need to be on the map? And that's the decider, the big gap between teams right now, is just knowing when to be where at what time. Never wasting your relocation. Because if you get blocked and you're stuck there for 3 minutes doing nothing, that matters. That's how a team snowballs a victory, is by making other players useless and then running over the players who are present at the key objectives. And that's pretty much it for me. Hopefully we can improve upon that in our next battles. And if you're just watching this on a different team or even on Buns, it's a good game, and look forward to playing you guys next time. Take care, guys. Goodbye.